Hi, this is Maggie. I just wanted to talk about Neptune aspects, the square, the opposition, or the challenging aspects, and the conjunctions, the trines, the sextiles are easy flowing aspects. The reason is Venus enters Pisces on February 10th through March 6th, so it will be there. It will be there, and Neptune is transiting Pisces, and Neptune is also the ruler of Pisces. So we're going to have a lot going on in Pisces when the Sun joins Venus, and Venus is exalted in Pisces. So Neptune is the ruler of the 12th house in Pisces, and it can give very escapist, make one very idealistic, and escapist. Sometimes there's confusion or problems with boundaries, especially if you have like the Sun conjunct Neptune. Could make a very good musician, or it could make one very deluded or confused and just really have a problem with boundaries, especially with the opposition or the square. There could be like a tendency towards self-destructive habits, secret affairs, drugs, escapist tendencies, sometimes just completely deluded, maybe about a romance you're in, and then reality hits and the person isn't who you thought they were, and that can be very common with Venus and Pisces. Natives as well, or even Venus aspecting Pisces, and if you have any planets in Pisces, boundaries can be hard, and escapist tendencies are very, very strong. And yeah, so the hard aspects, the opposition, or I have Neptune opposed the Sun and the Ascendant and Mercury. So the hard aspects you can tend towards not seeing the person as they really are. Maybe destructive relationships, or you can't really see what other people maybe see in a relationship. So you might draw in, just like my dad used to say, I don't know, something like, where do you find these people? It's like, but the Neptunian, they have a real problem with boundaries, and especially the square and the opposition. A lot of those stem from childhood. There may have been a negligent father, absent father, alcoholic father, or some kind of confusion in very early childhood, or just childhood in general, that would make you prone to having problems with boundaries. It's not always relationships, depending on what house you have it in. It could affect that area of your life. If in your money house, or your, in Capricorn, or it would color the area that there would be. But especially if it's aspecting your Sun, or the opposition, or the square, no matter where. But it's so great for the arts, because there's such a strong escapist tendency with Pisces, or with anything in the 12th house, or with any Neptune aspects. A very strong Neptune in your chart. You can't always just read it, because you would have to look at the rest of the chart to see, if they are maybe completely deluded, or they may have very, very strong alcoholic tendencies, or drugs, or they could have a identity crisis. Just be so far removed from reality that they can't see who they are, or they don't know who they are, or their ego boundaries have been just not defined at all, or slightly undefined, and it just depends on so many different factors. So Neptune can be very, very telling in a chart, and there are things that can offset Neptune, but to have a very, 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 very strong Neptune, or hard aspects to Neptune can cause some denial sometimes, problems with boundaries, escape as self-destructive tendencies, attracting the wrong people, maybe because you happen to see a glimmer of good in them, or because Neptune, it's just very universal, it's like universal love, and it just sort of blends everything together. So they're unmistakably dreamy, inspired, and sensitive. So you could use that for music, the arts. Intuition is extremely strong, but the intuition and the sensitivity may be so strong that it's hard for the Neptunian person to be around people, or in an environment, or say a crowd, or just even walking into a room. They would absorb everything. They would absorb all the psychic energy in the room. So it totally drains them. It drains them, and they would need to meditate, or just just take a time out after being in a situation like that, because they are so completely like a psychic sponge. They just absorb the atmosphere. Metaphysics, spirituality, artists, writers, musicians, all the actors, actresses, and that do very well. That's a very good use of Neptune, to be inspired. And a lot of times Pisces, they just have the most beautiful eyes, just sort of dreamy, and they're not always a bluish green, but they just have really, like they're kind of looking into a distance, very dreamy eyes. So humanitarian. If you have the easy-flowing aspects to Neptune, you could be a very spiritual person, or you could bring beauty, universal love, or fashion, or, things. It definitely softens the hard edges that, to Neptune, that other people may have. But if the sun is too close to Neptune, or the Mercury is conjunct Neptune, like within 3 degrees, it's almost like it's combust. It's too close, so it could cause maybe some communication problems, or some mental problems with your thinking, maybe dyslexia, just so many things. So Neptune is just fascinating. It's just a fascinating planet, and of course, it rules the tides and everything as well. So with Venus and Pisces, though, we're going to be very, very. Venus and Pisces, they say suffering and love. That's like the cliche they always throw out for Venus and Pisces. But the Venus and Pisces person, or and Neptune is transiting Pisces, or if you have other planets in Pisces, it's just so hard to for them to set boundaries, I think, because they just are such idealists, They're such idealists, they don't see the reality of the person that they want the person to be, they idealize it out of all out of all reality. You know, this person they put on a pedestal, and yeah, they have a lot of problems with self-delusion, you know, when it comes to relationships. Or they could attract, you know, just really, really artsy, just, you know, musicians, poets, just, you know, artists, and just drug dealers, you know. They're very prone to escapism. So, you know, there are healthy forms of escape, and a lot of times people with Neptune aspects, the challenging ones, or just a very, very strong presence in their chart, sometimes learn the hard way, or they just, maybe they're here to evolve, you know, they have some very challenging mental states, perhaps, or extremely challenging boundaries, you know, in their relationships or their families, or there's just so many ways it could present that their life struggle is to deal with these issues. And yeah, it's just this whole evolutionary thing. And when you read one's chart, you need to tread carefully when it comes to Neptune, and you know, don't go around diagnosing or anything. And that's where doctors come in. And you can't, you know, one shoe doesn't fit all. You know, you can't do that with Neptune because it has no boundaries. So yeah, so it's going to be a very interesting Pisces season with Neptune there, with Neptune transiting, and especially if you have planets in Pisces, and Venus just went into Pisces, so it's going to be all about universal love, spiritual love, you know, music, interior, going within, interior, looking interiorly. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I could just go on and on about Neptune. Yeah, so blues and greens are the color of Neptune. I just love blues and greens. It's the color of water, you know, and the water signs frequently like to wear blues and greens. The fire signs are drawn to red, you know, and I love to dress astrologically, you know, according to color. I tend to do that myself, you know, and blues and greens I find just calm me down. Whereas reds, you know, I'm all fire and water, so I like to bring out the water to put out the fire. That's kind of how I try to dress. But anyway, and if it's earth, you know, sometimes I'll dress according to the moon, to, you know, just like earth tones. But just a little fashion tip. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please like and subscribe. Thank you.